Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Sarita, and as you all know, we are doing the play The Post Office by Rabindranath Tagore. Till now, we have completed the introduction of the play and the playwright in the first two videos. In the second video, we told about Act 1 and 2, the plot summary of Act 1 and 2, and in that we saw that Amal, who is the protagonist, the main character of the play, is a small boy who is confined to a room and he has to sit all day long at a window and he looks outside from his room and he yearns to go outside and play with the small boys playing in the street. He talks to Shudha, a small girl who goes to pick flowers for her father, who is a florist. He talks to the curds seller and the hiwala, and he talks to the watchman, and he tries to entertain himself, and he imagines how nice it would be to go out and experience all these things. But due to the doctor's advice, he is not allowed to go outside, and by the end of the day, talking to the watchman, Shudha, to the curd seller, and the boys playing in the street, he gets tired and his fever goes up. Madhav, in the Act 3, says that Amal looks weak from spending all day by the window befriending most of the townspeople. Madhav says that the doctor will no longer allow Amal to sit by the window. Amal protests because the fakir, a mystical holy man, is coming to see him. As it turns out, the fakir is really Thakurda in costume. Madhav lets the man in and Thakurda sits on Amal's bed. Thakurda tells the boy stories of the fantastical parrot island. He promises to take Amal there when he is well. Amal asks Madhav about the curd seller who has stopped by and left some dahi for him. Madhav says the man's niece is getting married, so he will be too busy to stop by for a while. Amal replies that the curd seller or dahiwala promised him that he could marry his niece. Thakurda jokes that the man probably has many nieces. Exasperated or irritated with their nonsense, Madhav leaves the room. Amal then asks Thakurda if the Raja has sent him a letter yet, and Thakurda says he heard that it has been sent. They talk about meeting with the Raja and of the art of begging. Amal declares that he will beg the Raja to be made into a mail carrier. Thakurda then asks Amal why it makes him so unhappy to stay at home. Amal replies that the thought of waiting for the Raja's letter makes it more bearable. Then Madhav comes back into the room and worries that they will get into trouble because the headman has written to the Raja. Madhav states that according to the headman, Amal is saying that the Raja has established his post office only to correspond with you. Amal is worried by this, but Thakurda says the Raja cannot possibly be mad with a little boy. Amal starts to feel faint. His eyesight is beginning to fail him, and it is hard for him to see. As the three sit there, the doctor comes in to check on Amal, who says, "All my pain seems to be going away." The doctor says that this is not a good sign. He thinks the boy has gotten too much air and sun through the window and that he's had too many visitors. Amal appears to fall asleep, and Madhav asks the doctor, "This child who is not my own, but whom I have loved as my own, will he be taken from me?" Before the doctor is able to answer, he sees the headman coming and hurries to leave before the headman sees him. The doctor promises to send some medicine. When the headman enters, he calls for Amal, but Thakurda tells the man to be quiet because the child is sleeping. Amal then appears to awake and says that he was not actually asleep, that he could hear everything going on or around him, and he could even hear his dead parents speaking to him. The headman or the sarpanch accuses Madhav and his family of being pretentious. He ridicules them, makes fun of them, and hands Amal a blank page saying that it is a letter from the Raja. Amal says he doesn't see any writing on the letter, but he thinks that this is because his eyes are failing him. Thakurda pretends to read the fake letter, telling Amal that it says the Raja will come to see him, along with the royal physician or doctor. Amal replies that he can already hear the Raja's herald announcing the Raja's arrival. The headman laughs, believing Amal to be delirious because of fever. Soon, however, someone is banging on the door, and the Raja's herald enters, announcing that the Raja will be arriving at midnight. In the meantime, he has sent his physician ahead of him. The physician enters and says that the room must be opened up, that the boy needs fresh air. Amal tells the physician that he feels fine. My illness is gone, my pain is gone, now everything is open. I can see all the stars shining on the far side of darkness. Madhav whispers to Amal that when the Raja comes, he should be sure to ask him for something for the family, indicating that he would like money or favors from the Raja. Amal says that he will ask to be made a mail carrier, that is, a postman. Madhav groans. The herald tells the family to prepare a meal for the Raja when he arrives, but then the physician says there is no need, and he tells everyone to be calm. He says that Amal's sleep is coming. I will sit beside his pillow as he drifts off, blow out the lamp, let the starlight come in, his sleep has arrived, meaning to say, indicating that he is going to die. Oblivious of the fact, Madhav asks Thakurda why he is so hushed with your palms pressed together like a statue. Madhav says, I feel a kind of dread. Why has the room been darkened? What is the use of starlight? What use is the starlight? Thakurda responds, Be quiet, unbeliever, do not speak. Shudha arrives and asks for Amal. But the physician says he has fallen asleep, though he really means that Amal is dead. Shudha puts the flowers she brought for Amal into his hand. She asks the physician to whisper something in his ear. She says to the physician, Tell him Shudha has not forgotten him. Amal, who is the protagonist of the play The Post Office, at last dies and finally liberated from his room.